Hey guys, in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you how to build a text disruption effect where we're going to introduce random characters throughout a phrase. This will be controlled with two simple controllers for the seed to control the randomization and the amount of how much the text is disrupted, so a slider from 0 to 100%. That's pretty much it, so we're going to jump on in. Okay, to build this effect, we first need to create a text layer. If you hold Alt and click, it will put it straight into the middle. This works best with monospaced fonts, so I'm going to use this one called Space Mono. And what I'm going to quickly do is name this font. So we're going to call this text shape, and I'm going to call this original. Now we're going to duplicate this, and we're going to call one random. So to make the effect, we're just going to move the random one up and move the original down, just so we can see both. The way this works is we're basically going to be switching off one layer to show the other layer. So we're going to have the same input into both of these text strings. So we're just going to search for a string, and we're going to link this to both the original and the random. So now we'll type in something. This must be the place. Actually, let's just use the capital letters. We have talking heads. As you can see, both of our text layers are the same. Let's quickly change the alignment. Okay, so this is going to be the initial setup. So we've got our random text and our original text. On the random text layer, we need to randomize the characters, and we do this via a string manipulator, and we're going to add in a shuffle string. And on this, we're going to change this to all and rotate to line because we have a line of text. And instead of using random, we're going to change this to custom string. And in this custom string here, let me just open my notes quickly. I have a bunch of characters here. I'm just going to paste them in. So now you'll see if we slide this percentage, we go from 0 being all of our text, 100 randomized. So we're just going to leave that for now. We want to add 100% randomization. And we'll just quickly make a group. And we'll call this group text. Now we need to make the effect so we can turn one layer off and show only the other one. We're going to use if statements to achieve this. So we're going to just quickly search for if, else. And we basically need to switch the opacity on and off when this is true or false. And the way we're going to do that is on our text layers, we are going to add a behavior. No, it's not behavior. Material behavior, and apply a text material. So what we're going to actually do here is we need to change the mode to all. Okay, that's fine. And we are basically going to be changing this value here with our if else. So then if I click true, false, what we're going to hope to do is turn that from 100 to 0. So in order to do that, we need a number, an array. So No, it's not an asset array. A value array. Sorry, the wrong one. So we want to change value 1 to 100, and we'll add another one, and we're going to call this one 0. So what we're going to do now is drag value there and here. So now you'll see if I turn this to true or false, our layer turns on and off. So what we need to do is we're going to name this if else original. We're going to duplicate it and call this one random. And we're going to do the same thing for the random. So we're just going to quickly find our random text. Not that, sorry, random text. We are going to add a material behavior. Change this to all. On the fill, we are now going to find our random here. Plug this into the fill. But what we need to do is we need to switch the true and false condition in. So to switch the true and false condition in, we just need to find our value array again. And we're just going to plug them in the reverse. Okay, we're just going to quickly do some housekeeping. We're going to put all of this stuff into their shape layers so it's easier to see what belongs to what. We're going to get a new group. We're going to call this statements. Put the value array in there and our two if statements. We don't need this asset array. So in order to have this randomly turn between our characters on and off, we're going to build a random, and we want the minimum to be 0, the maximum to be 1. So the way that works is on a boolean, which is the if else, it outputs 0s and 1s, 0 being true and 1 being false, I believe. So we want the random numbers to be plugged into the condition here. So it will then distribute a true or false across all of our characters. So the way we're going to do that is we need a comparison node. And we want to compare our random versus a slider control so we can choose how much of the text is being randomized. So we're going to add in a value, and this value, we're just going to call this disruption effect. So the value of the disruption effect is going to be 1. So, and then when we adjust the strength, we're going to be transitioning from 0 and 1. So we're going to compare these, and the result of this is going to be driven into our statements. So let's get to the result here, plug it in here, and we will do the same for the original. Like so. So now you can see when we slide between 0% and 100%, our characters are switching between the two font layers. At the moment, the behavior is the wrong way around. I'd like it to be 0. We see our proper text and 100% randomized. So what we're going to do is just grab the value array here. We could switch the plugs, but what's easier is if we just type 100 on the bottom here and 0 on the top. So now when we slide between it, as we increase our disruption effect strength, we get more randomized characters. So it's working nicely. So what we're doing now is just center up these text layers quickly. Say that when we slide it, we can visually see it as if it's just one text layer. So you might be asking, why are we doing the if-else comparison method instead of just using the random string on our character and just having one text layer? And the value of this rig is that we get to choose the colors of our original text. So we could make this, for example, 100% black. Sorry, I'm doing it in the wrong spot because we added in a apply shape material. We need to change the color here. So we can have 100% black. And then on our random, we could add a color array. So let's just select this color here, and we'll go to create array from PUD. And then on our random material in the fill, we can link our color array. And now you'll see we can slide to random colors like so. So basically, I was trying to build this so I could have a certain color for our main text and only have colored characters on the randomization. And this was the only way I could figure out a way of achieving this. So that's the reason why building this rig the way we are. Okay, we're going to do some more housekeeping quickly. This blue is too dark and it's feeling too close to the black we're using, so let's choose a different blue. And these colors are similar, so I'm just going to delete one. So we've got 4 random characters there, 4 random colors there, sorry, which visually looks better. Right, we're going to just add another group. And we are going to put our color array onto our random, because that's where it belongs. The distribution effect is going to go in this group, and we're going to call this controllers. And we are going to create another group. And we're going to put these in here, and we're going to call this random. Cool. So, to make this effect more interesting, we are going to add another value. And we're going to pop it in here. And we're going to call this disruption seed. Cool. I'm just going to save this quickly because I haven't saved it yet. Just in case we get a crash. Okay, so now we got this cleaned up. What we want to do is make this more interesting. So what we can do is we can take our text group here and we could throw this into a duplicator. And I'm going to just put the duplicator into our controllers here. And this is where it gets slightly more interesting. So instead of grid, we will just go for linear, and we're going to just choose vertical. And as you can see here, this is a little bit boring because we have the same randomization being applied to all of our instances. So this is where we can create unique randomization per instance on the duplicator. So if we go to the advanced tab on the duplicator here, you'll see we have use index context. So what we need to do is somehow plug this into our random effect. So we can create new randomization per index. So we're going to just get a math node quickly. And we will call this seed plus index is what we're going to call this. And we're just going to add this. So we are going to get the index context and plug it in here. And then we are going to get our seed and plug it in here. So what we can do now is plug this math node into our seed. And there you go. You'll see we've got separate randomization. and we're just going to quickly plug this in here. So now we got different randomization per line, and we can change the value here to change how much randomization we get across our layers and change the seed to something that we prefer the look of. Okay, we're going to make this a little bit more interesting. We're going to add in a circle, and we're just going to change the shape to something like 300 by 200. We're going to quickly just turn the duplicator off. Okay, no, we're not, because we'll lose our things. Yeah, let's do that actually. So we just got one line that we can concentrate on for now. And on the effect, I'm just going to put it to 0 so I can see a clean line of text. What I want to do is use this shape as the path for our shape to go on, our text to flow across. So the ellipse shape we're going to add to the text path, and we're going to loop this path, and we're going to just quickly close that, and we're going to do the same for the random. And then we can hide our shape. So what you can see right now is our text doesn't go all the way around. So in the string, I'm just going to copy all of this, paste it again. Nice. Now you can see our path is not big enough. So let's just get this to a point where it feels nice. I'm going to go 420. So 420, 200. Perfect. So now when we turn our duplicator back on, we'll hide our text layer. We now have a few rows of text like that. Let's just space this out a little bit. And then what we can do is we could actually change the shape scale. So we'll go to 0.4 on both of these, like that. And we'll just bring this up to 700. We'll add a few more counts. And we will center this like so. And then we will increase our strength. So we've got some randomization across the rows. Okay, we're going to make this a bit more interesting. We are going to add an oscillator to the path travel so we can sway our shapes. So first of all, let's go to add behavior, oscillator. And we'll grab this oscillator and just chuck it in our controllers. We will grab the original text and we will link the oscillator here too. So now if we play through our animation, we have shapes rotating, but currently this is too high. So I'm going to change this to like 0.2. And that's looking pretty cool. So this already has a built-in stagger, so we're getting a nice delay across our shapes there, which is cool. What we can do is change the graph of the stagger by adding a actual stagger behavior here. And this will give us control, so we can set the minimum and maximum. So I'm just going to change the max to 10. And we could change the graph to a sort of bell curve here. And then that will give us a nice stagger where the ends move at the same times and there's a delay into the middle, which I think is a fun little effect. That's pretty cool. So obviously you can take this, add as little or as much to it, but this was the kind of core rig which helped me build my animation I showed you at the start. Okay, so we're going to start to build the array version of the random distribution effect. So I've set up a new composition here, and to save a bit of time, I've copied a few things over. We've got the text shape with our text font, and here we've got a folder for original, which has a color array with just one color. string array, which is got my font displayed, my phrase, sorry. This must be the place, spaced out like that. And then in the random, we have a bunch of random colors and all of our random characters that we're going to use. So there's loads of symbols, and we've got from A to Z and 1 to 0. So that's basically everything we'll need to set this up. And I've got my seed controller and my effect controller. So we're going to jump in and get started with this. The first thing we need to do is add a if else. And I'm going to call this if else random. We are going to link the if else random to our string. And then inside the if else random, we are going to link the string array original and the string array random. And then what we're going to do is on our text shape, we're just going to put this into a duplicator. And we are going to set this to linear. And we're just going to go space it out 1200, and we'll have 20 counts for now. And then you'll see if I flick between this, you can see we get our random characters or our original phrase. So you can see we are needing 22 characters to limit it to our phrase. The next thing we need is our random. So we'll do a search for random. And also on it, I'm going to do a group. I'm going to call this random evaluation. Right, so in our random, we're going to change the maximum, leave the minimum at 0, change the maximum to 1. And we need a comparison node. We are going to plug the random into the first. Oh, sorry, that's the folder. The random into the first, and our distribution effect into the second. And if it's less than, we can plug this into our if else statement. Cool. So if I go to the random effect, adjust the strength, you can see we are getting 0 is all randomized and 100 is not. So I actually want to flip the conditions here, plug them in the wrong way. So let's get the string original, put it on the bottom, and the string random, we'll put that on the top. So now 0 will be our original and 100 is all random. I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping here. I'm going to plug the duplicator into our controllers. I'm going to put this at the top. I'm going to get a new group and call this if statements. And I'm going to pop the if statement in there. And just move this down here. Not inside that folder, just above it. That's gone in there for some reason. Okay, so we got all of our controllers in the controller one, our if statement, and our random evaluation. So let's just clear these down. The effect, let's just put it to 30% so we can see some characters. So obviously we're not getting random characters right now. What we're actually getting is just one character in all of the places, which we don't want. So to fix that, we need to find a random string array. And here, if we have auto indexing on, it kind of does something, but it's not what we want. We want to actually use the indexing from our random here. So currently our random is only 0 to 1, which means we'd be using 0 and 1 on our index in here. So we'd only get A and B randomly distributed across our text, which we don't want. So we need to remap the values in our random. And we're going to do that with a number range. So this number range, we are going to plug the minimum of the random into the source minimum and the maximum into the source maximum and the value of the random into the value. And we are going to remap this. So minimum is fine, but we need to remap the maximum. So we want to use the count, but the way count works on an array is it includes 0. So we need 47 minus 1. So I'm just going to put this in here. So we're going to just get a math node. And we're just going to call this random character count. And in the random character count, we are going to get the count of our string array. And we are going to set this to subtract 1. So now we can plug this count into the maximum, which gives us 46 instead of 47. So then what we can do is this map range now, we can plug this into our index. And now, if we, first of all, let's on the distribution seed here, let's link this to the seed value here. So with our seed controller, if we change this value, you can see we are getting random characters now. Grand. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is a similar process. So we are going to get the map range. Let's just quickly name this random characters. And we're going to duplicate it and call it random colors. And we're going to have to duplicate the math as well. And we'll call this random color count. So let's just put the color ones together. So for the color, we need to find our color array. And again, we have a count here. So we're going to replace this. So we have 4 subtract 1, so we have 3. And then this random color count, we need to plug into our new number range for random colors. And we need to get the result into the maximum and replace that connection. Now, we need to link this to the color array. So this random color goes into the index, like so. So now obviously we haven't actually got our colors set up to affect our type. So what we're going to do is we are going to go to if statements have ended up in here. That's not where I want them. The if statement random, I'm going to duplicate this and we're going to call this if statement colors. We're just going to unplug this and unplug this. So now what we want to do is instead we're going to plug in the original color, which was on the bottom, and the random color on the top. And on our text layer, on the fill setting, we are going to plug the if else colors into the fill. So now, as you should be able to see what's going on already, we get the colors randomly applied to the areas where the random takes over. And that's the effect. Now there's a slight issue with this in terms of, for some reason, and I cannot figure out this logic, but there is an issue with the random colors not being distributed when we have a lower value on this strength controller. So they only kind of come in when we get to around 100, which is not ideal. So we're going to fix that next. Okay, so the way we're going to fix these characters here, the colors being distributed when we have a lower value, is by modifying the, so if I set this to just 30, ideally I want to be seeing all 4 colors here, and at the moment we've only got 2, which is not what we want. So we have our number range for the random colors, and the only way I've figured out how to introduce more colors is by increasing this number here, which doesn't make any sense to me logically why we would need to do this. So maybe someone more clued up with Calvary might be able to explain that. But the way I'm going to fix this is by adding a new if-else statement. And with this if-else statement, we're going to basically change. So this would be plugged in to the max. Yeah, so we're going to call this if-else, and I'm going to call this disruption is less than 50%. So we're basically going to put in a check. If we're less than 50% on this disruption effect, we're going to output new values for the minimum, the maximum here, basically. So what we're going to do is we've got our maths for the random count here. We're going to duplicate this. And we're going to do random count times, let's try times 4. I think that's what I did to do it. So what we're going to do is unplug that, the original math. Oh, I've unplugged the wrong one. Hang on, let me go back. So we're going to plug the original value into here. So we get 3, and we're just going to times this by 4. So this is going to be the first value for if it's true and disruption is less than 50%, we're going to output 12. And if it's false, we're going to output 3. And for the condition here, we need to, so you can kind of see if I switch between it, we're getting results we want there. But if I crank this up, it becomes too balanced to the other colors when it goes over 50%. So if I switch it back off, we get a nicer spread of colors. So what we're going to do is we need to have a comparison node again. And we're going to call this comparison disruption less than 50%. So the first operator, we're going to plug in our disruption effect strength, and we're going to go less than, so we're going to unplug this, and we're just going to type in 50. And then the result of this is going to be the condition of our if statement. So now when we drag it down, you can see we have a better distribution of colors from really low values up to higher values. Yeah, like I said, I'm not really sure what causes that logic. And you'll notice as well, we're getting the same thing happening with our characters. When we're in lower values, we seem to be just getting the beginning of the alphabet. And when we get to the higher values, we're starting to see the characters creeping in. So we're basically going to do exactly the same thing, but for the characters. So let's just close this down. So what we need to do now, maybe I'll do a bit of housekeeping here quickly. It's getting a bit confusing. So we're getting a new group, and we'll call this random colors. And I'm just going to put all of the random color stuff in here. Random colors. and get a new group, and we'll call this one random characters. So we can reuse this controller here. This one we're going to have to change, so let's just rename this if else. Actually, let's plug this into our if statements here as well. And then we'll put, we'll call this one colors. We can duplicate this and call this one characters. So we need to unplug these for the characters. So the if else for the characters needs to be plugged into our range maximum, which is going to be here. So it's currently set to 46. We're going to remove that, and we're going to plug in this. So then we need to add in a new, we basically need to copy what we've done here. So we're going to just duplicate this. We just do times by 4 again, see how that feels. So the first one is going to be this character count, and we're going to multiply by 4. So this gives us 140. So then we're going to put 140 into the true, random character into the false. So now that should all be working. Let's just double check. Find our controller layers. So when I bring this down, oh, that's the seed. Sorry, wrong one. Yeah, we are getting the random characters introduced here. And if I change the value of the seed, we're getting a better distribution of the characters as well as the colors. But I'm not getting any of the symbols, as much as the symbols as I'd like. So maybe we just increase this to multiple. Hang on, I've done these the wrong way around. Hang on, this one should be subtract 1. Ay. So I've messed these up slightly. Let's just reformat these. That needs to go into there. I don't think that worked. It's because it's plugged in here. Okay. Apologies about this. So we need the count into this one. Yeah, that's right. Let's just double check if that's fixed it, because that might have been the issue there. Change the seed. No, it doesn't seem like we're getting the characters still. So maybe we just need to multiply this by a higher value. Let's go 8. But to be fair, if this doesn't work either, I didn't notice that we weren't getting the values when I built this earlier. Okay, still not getting it. Okay, so I think what it is, what's driving that is in our array itself. Where is it? If I show you the random array, we've obviously got a high dominance of actual letters, and then there's fewer numbers, and there's even fewer characters. So what we might actually have to do is just duplicate these if there was a way to do that. I don't think there is. So basically I'm not going to do it for this tutorial, but if you're feeling like you're not getting a good enough weight between your characters, you need to just basically add more instances of 1, 2, 3 to 0 and more of your symbols. And I think that would have fixed that issue for us. And maybe we didn't even need to do the double up like we did on the colors. I'm not really sure about that. Probably should have tested that, so I apologize. But that's how you would fix it. If you were to do this in geometry nodes in Blender, you have options to kind of like weight your values here. So you could put more emphasis on the numbers or the characters, but I don't think we get that kind of option in Calvary yet. So that's just a slight limitation. And the fix would be just to make more instances in your string here. But the beauty of how we've set this up, if we were to add more, so if I was to add another 10, click add, you'll see we get 10 empty things here, but these numbers all update now because they are referencing the count here, which is great. So that's how you would go about fixing that. Anyways, I hope this tutorial has been helpful and you can create these cool random effects for your text layers, which is now broken because I've introduced all these blank characters. Anyways, enjoy guys.